Just a heads up, I have a entrepreneurs organization meeting at 2:30. That's a 15-minute drive, so I know we started a little late. If we need to go over a little bit, that's totally fine. But just
30 minutes is plenty. We'll
perfect.
cap it
All
at
right.
2:00.
I love it. Let me turn
right.
my this is video.
That's right after this one.
This goes on video, right?
Yeah, and your gain might be a little high.
It's too high?
Yeah, just tap it down.
I'm just too close to the microphone. Is that better?
Yeah, it's perfect.
Okay, give me a quick second to get my lighting fixed real quick. I'm trying a new hairstyle. I might hate this
we just use clips on social, so I was gonna say, man, did you change your hair? I like it. I do. I think it does make you a little younger.
This is my actual hair. Like, this is my hair when I don't style it. So no, I mean, like, really, like, I have curly hair and I just do a lot of I straighten it typically. So
how old are you, Brennan?
I'm 25.
It makes you look 25.
Cool. But I'll take it.
100%, bro. 25. Yeah, because when you hit 45, trust me, you're gonna like those kind of compliments.
And I have a lot of questions. 25 and all you've accomplished so far, that's pretty amazing. That's when I started Trip Shock at 23, 24. So, man.
Don't make this about your midlife crisis, Greg.
Let's make it about his midlife crisis.
All right. Well, we started recording already, but Brennen, welcome to the show. And appreciate everyone coming back and listening to another episode of the AWG podcast. Our guest, Brennen Bliss of Propellic. And Brennen, we're excited to have you on the show for the first time. You are one of our very first corporate sponsors, in addition to Dustin Miller from Conversion Assist. And we really appreciate you diving deep with the AWG guys. So welcome to the show.
Absolutely. Super happy to be here and thrilled to be aligned with such an awesome group and organization.
Great.
Yeah, same, man. Yeah. We're glad to have you, man. You got some we were just talking before the thing started and we were like, man, Brennan's 25 and he's really accomplished. And I always like, when it comes to marketing, I think it's a very important thing, because I think as especially in this industry goes, a lot of people get hung up on, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And this has worked for my business for the last 20 years because a lot of legacy operators are listening to this. So they're like, SEO, my pay-per-click strategy, XYZ. And I honestly think it's when Greg was a young entrepreneur, a lot of the ideas he brought to this marketplace really didn't take hold, and he was able to build a thriving business off of modern marketing, and it only gets faster as the technology sort of grows, and you see sort of this like exponential growth in all of these different platforms. And it's like, man, I've got to have conversations with entrepreneurs of your age that are like really drilled down into this stuff, because your generation really has the pulse on what's moving forward next. And as we kind of as we were bringing in before we brought you in the guesting, I was like, man, yeah, I have some questions about you about some of these emerging platforms. So thank you for joining us, man.
Thrilled to be here. I would say, with what we're going to talk about it in a second, but when we get to the port conference, which I and a couple members of my team are super excited to attend, you talk about something right there, getting set in your ways. That's channel dependence, and that's a core component of one of the largest issues we see across all of travel, including in the water sports and boat tour audience and market segment, is that people get very, very comfortable when something works. Very comfortable. And it works until it doesn't. I've had 3 calls today where that has come up, specifically one with a company that just raised $5 million, one with a company that's a very established multi-day tour company, and then one with a startup that hasn't raised anything. And they're all talking about a single channel. And my question is, what is your diversification strategy? What is your third-party distribution strategy? And there isn't one. And it's kind of incredible.
Pay Viator 50% commission.
Oh, no, 40. Don't be silly.
Give all your business to Viator. No. It is funny. Right before I got on the call, I was having like this flashback of like, what did I do for marketing 15 years ago? And then what is it now? And my God, it is so different. Because I remember I would buy press release articles and basically get the high PR backlinks and just write press releases. And then I would run Google Ads when no one else was doing anything regarding Google Ads. It was just really just me in the marketplace. But that was the two things I did. And now, my God, it is so diverse, so different. You got OTAs, you got all sorts of things. And that's why I think agencies are way more important than they were 15 years ago, because there's no way that the average business owner can digest all this anymore. Like it's like we talked about on the previous shows, like it's a holistic strategy now when it comes
there's that. There's sophisticated marketers that can do it in-house. Short of like sitting out of your building with a sign, spinning it around and saying, "Come visit us," and throwing it in.
That's what I do.
Oh, you do. I'm sure you do it in incredible. You clearly are successful, so I'm clearly the wrong one in this case. But for everybody other than Kevin, I would suggest that whether it's a agency or an individual or a contractor or someone you hire in house, the pressure is always on an agency to develop their skills, because an agency is always next to be replaced. It's the easiest expense to cut, and it's the one where you expect the most. So we are always in deep pressure to continue developing our skills, and our team is being pushed each by 5 different clients. So you have to take, like, each member of our team has 5 different clients that they're learning things from and developing from. So it certainly is a very strong learning ground. And yeah, I would agree. There certainly is a big difference now than there was 3 years ago, 2 years ago, for that matter.
Brent,
I would
get in real quick.
I know you. What do you want to do?
Well, I just want to. I like for him to give a little bit of his background and story, but ask your question first, and then Brandon, let's learn a little about you in Propellic.
Sure.
What were you gonna say, Kevin?
Yeah, I was just gonna expound on that like a little bit as far as marketing agencies in the tourism space, where it's like I think if you have and I'm just spitballing here, but I think if you have, let's say, like a restaurant or like a car wash or something like this, right? Or auto detailing. You're trying to tell a story. You're trying to create a beautiful website. For tourism and activities where you're selling tickets, a lot of times your marketing agency is like, you guys are like on the hook. Like if we don't sell, because it's also e-com, right? So if you're not seeing conversions coming through, now it's like you guys are 100% on the hook for the amount of sales. Why aren't my jet skis booked out? Why aren't my boats, like, why aren't you making sure? Because I hear about this all the time. These guys will go out and literally count heads on a tour boat and be like, I see 50 heads on my competitor's boat and there's 35 on my boat, and call up their marketing guy and be like, what is going on? What aren't you doing right? So like the ability for them to be able to track and see where all this stuff is coming from, I can only imagine how challenging it must be for you guys sometimes.
Yeah, I would say that our clients are well trained generally, so expectations are kind of are somewhat aligned in terms of like, there aren't typically fires. Everybody's kind of on the same boat. One of our core values is deeply aligned vision, and that takes a lot of front work to set expectations and goals, to the extent that you're on the same page when something's not going as planned. But you always need a plan to fix it. And yeah, I agree. It's when you're marketing for something that's e-commerce, you do hold ultimate accountability, and that's actually a really great thing for clients and companies, because they're paying a lot of money for agencies. So I 100% agree with that.
So as to Greg's point, give us some background. How did you get into this? How long have you been in business? Let's do the whole thing.
Background. Okay. 2014, I believe it was when Propellic was founded, January 1, 2014. Yes, I was 14 years old. 15 years old. At the time, my dad helped me establish the company. He doesn't have a background in marketing and digital or anything. He just knows how to create an LLC. And I wanted to start building websites. So I built a website for my mom's speech pathology practice, and then I went and built websites for all of the parents of students at the school that I went to, because they all happened to own small businesses. this was not a product of me being like super interested in building websites. This was a product more so of me just not having a community and not having friends and not having I was bullied a lot as a kid. I'm an outcast. I'm an awkward kid. I guess I'm right at home though on the Awkward Watersports podcast, right? So I kind of found a thing to keep me busy, and that was building websites. And I taught myself how to do SEO to get more web design clients. So I taught myself, okay, I want to rank position 1 for Dallas Web Design Company, which is where I'm from. And we did that in about 5 months from the back of a high school classroom. I did that. And my first big client was the college football playoffs. They hired me to build the website for their nonprofit. It's a teacher's nonprofit associated with the college football playoffs. And that was a big moment for me. Not only did it give us some budget to like learn, but I was 16 at the time. That was a big project. And then I figured out this SEO thing is more sustainable. You get to help companies over the long term. I liked it more because it's more scientific and mathematic than web design is. And I don't like talking to people about how they feel. I want to talk to people about the results, right? So I taught myself SEO and then started doing that, marketing that, hired my first full-time employee in my senior year of high school, did about $400,000 in revenue in my freshman year of college, dropped out 7 months in. We're 25 people now, or 22, 25 people, somewhere in there. And it was about 3.5 years ago that we said, we're going to stop working with everybody and just work with travel, because this is the only industry that has the impact on the diversity in the world that it can and has. And it's also something I am 100% and fully in love with. So that's my background.
Not only did you make me feel bad about myself about what I was doing at 15, now me and my 17-year-old daughter are going to have a conversation with you.
No. Honestly, it would have. I mean, now it's fun and now it's better. I have a community now, but it was a lonely way to grow up. I wouldn't. I'm not suggesting everybody follow in my footsteps in that respect. It's I learned some hard lessons. I was in $200,000 worth of consumer debt by the time I was 19, spending money on things I didn't need to spend money on to prove I was someone I wasn't, to people I didn't even know. And it was because I was trying to differentiate myself and make myself feel better about, my whatever success looks like. I mean, it was nothing compared to what we're doing today, nothing compared to what other people are doing today, much more than what I'm doing for sure. But I think at a very, very honest level, it was not an ideal thing. I had a great family, great parents.
That's awesome.
But yeah.
You look at like what was it? The founder of Oculus, Palmer Luckey.
Yeah.
And he was developing Oculus Rift at 60 because he's 31. Mm-hmm. And he was developing Oculus Rift I was like, man, at like 15, I was like still trying to like figure out how to play drums.
I never, did you at least get there? Did you figure it out?
I mean, poorly, but yeah.
It's better than me.
I don't know. It's arguable, man. I think you've built up a great brand. Like, like you have yourself way put together at 25, dude.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, I like your logo. I like the brand. It's good, man.
Everything. I was incredibly impressed on the first 25.
Meeting. I did, honestly, I thought you're probably in like your early 30s. Just
me too. That's what I
thought. Type of accounts you have and the way you carry yourself. So, man.
Yeah, I was like, keep that haircut. You look like you're 25.
I know it's very.
I am 25.
I don't love it, but no, I'm still getting used to it. It's not a hair. This is my natural hairstyle. I just stopped spending 30 minutes on it every morning.
But one thing I want to say is that like good marketers that are really young are really hard to find. Like to me, I feel like, TripShock's not a young company anymore. And maybe I have to, look at younger marketers that are more in line with all these new, mediums like TikTok and, social, organic social strategy. Like everything's changing a lot. And God, it's like every year I feel like I feel further from like what is actually happening. So that's definitely, if you're looking for somebody that is a younger marketer that understands a lot of these things, like Propellic could be a good opportunity. So
and that's just me, right? So like, let's take a couple of people on our team. I would say our average experience on our team in delivering the services we're delivering is 10 years. So despite the fact that I'm a child, as you've pointed out. I am the second to youngest person in my company. And there's only one person younger, and he's like 2 weeks younger than me. And he runs our link building department. And it's just incredibly qualified. But like my director, Paul, of senior director of growth marketing, he's been in SEO for 18 years, and 8 years before that, he was a software engineer. Our new director of client success has been paid media for 25 years. Our associate director of paid media, 10 years in paid media. Our, associate director of SEO, 6 years in SEO.
Wow.
The average campaign manager that's working with a client, because we don't have account managers, we have SEO managers and paid media specialists that work directly with clients, like 5 to 8 years of experience. It makes us more expensive, but it also makes us more effective.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Wow.
So, Brennen, you're going to be at the port. You're speaking. You have a really great presentation. You're going to be sharing with everybody. As we said before, you're a corporate sponsor, so you're invested into the AWG community. And I think today we wanted to kind of give everyone a preview of what we're going to be discussing at the port, your roundtable and your presentation. Obviously, we're not going to give away too much because you got to get a ticket and come to the conference. But you're going to be doing a presentation on paid media, and I like for you. I mean, on today's show to maybe provide some insight into that presentation, share some great stats and strategies with our audience. So, walk us through, some of the things.
It's even more than that. So it's not channel specific. This is more methodology. It's what we call performance bookings. It's something that you can execute on your own or work with us to do it. So it's definitely something that can be put to play without us. I want to make sure we're providing a lot of value there. So basically, there's really 5 areas where we see marketing really fail in the travel industry. And in the presentation's about fixing those. And yes, there is a paid media, there's an SEO element, there's tactics, but it's primarily strategic. It's primarily going to be for companies that are not brand new, they're a little bit established, and they're able to put some of these things into play by leveraging some time in their team. So number 1, travel. The way people travel and search, plan, and book is very different from any other search and purchase experience. It's not I'm looking for a sock, I'm going to go buy a sock. It's a wildly unguided, very, very open-ended destination search, potentially, but more frequently a recommendation from a vendor family, right? And typically, according to some research by Expedia, there's somewhere between like 30 days between like the 38 days between where should I go and what are my options when I get there. So like people have decided where they're going and they're at that point ready to start considering options. If you don't have the travel background and experience, you're going to start saying, okay, let's start targeting people at this stage in the process, right? Let's start targeting people that are they've decided on a destination, but there's still about 30 to 35 days before they make their initial booking. And for your audience, that's really important because that's not the booking for the tour and activity. That's the booking for the hotel and the flight. The tour and activity, as your listeners might be very familiar, gets booked with a lot less advance notice. Fair?
Yep.
So we need to make sure we understand both the intent signals and the timing, which is a considerable failure that travel marketers make frequently. It's they're targeting every single angle of the research process with the same message, and that doesn't pull someone from the top of the funnel to the bottom of the funnel. When someone's booking, and we talked about it, Greg, before we started the call, they're going to click a lot more now than they did historically before they make the booking. There's a lot of research, and it's unguided research followed by typically an impulsive decision. So you want the impulsive decision to be you. There's not like a rubric that travelers are making on comparing companies. They're getting a gut feel, looking at prices, skimming photos. It's an incredibly visual purchasing journey. And we need to make sure we're following them through each stage of the research process with the appropriate messaging about the destination, and then about the activity, and then about booking with us. Mm-hmm. So that's step 1. I know that was a lot. I'll get less deep into the others. The other categories are really just making sure you're tracking and monitoring the correct things. Likes and followers are great, but bookings are the North Star. Not getting over dependent on a single channel. Cough, cough, TripAdvisor, cough, cough. They only focused on SEO primarily, and that hurt them big time.
Let's talk about TripAdvisor and Viator, because those are like, some of the main channels that a lot of operators use.
Yeah.
So in your opinion, what's an acceptable amount of total sales that should be attributed to OTAs?
Okay, so I hope Sarah Dines is not listening to this. I really think she's a cool person, and don't let. I had dinner with her a couple weeks ago.
I doubt she listens to this show.
Yeah. Well, make sure she gets tagged in it. I'm kidding.
We'll tag her.
No, so we like to say channel diversity. 35% for any single channel is edging on too many. Too many bookings coming from a single channel is 35% or more.
So if you do more than 35% of your total sales with one channel, then it's too much.
With one channel would be specifically a single OTA in most cases. Okay. I also would prefer
I would think it's lower, like maybe around 20. I don't know. People play around with the numbers, but
it be 35% is the unhealthy mark.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I was thinking.
There are some companies that are 80%. So we got to be.
I'm very well aware of that.
Yeah. We got to be like 80 to 90%. So you got to be. So when we look at a diverse distribution strategy, there's really kind of like 5 key pillars that we look at. And the first one is going to be, are you over concentrated into a single channel at 35%? The second one is, are you using both organic and paid? So irrespective of distribution through third parties, like, are you relying on a single direct channel? That's a problem if you are. Furthermore, are you distributing through third parties in the first place? Some companies make the strategic decision not to distribute through third parties, right? I'd be curious if you run into that ever and what your thoughts are on that.
I think, well, here's the thing. If you're in a destination and you run a water park, you're the only water park or anything close to a water park, then why run through third parties? Because most likely the business that they bring that you wouldn't have had otherwise will be offset by the cannibalization of people that would have gone direct, but the OTAs cut it off. So if you are a very unique product in a destination that you don't have anything similar, then I would be very cautious of running on OTAs. Now, if you're in a very competitive space, like pontoon boats, like Kevin, or dolphin tours, or whatever, where there's 100 other boats, you have to play the OTA game, not just because that's going to be a huge channel, but on TripAdvisor, if you're not using TripAdvisor, then they're going to promote your competitors on your listing. You're also going to see this on your Google My Business, and when people run, I mean, you know how it is. I know people run searches for brands locally here, and competitor ads show up. OTA
we place a lot of those ads.
Yeah. So it's a matter of like, it depends on the type of product and the destination, and in my opinion, of whether or not you run with third parties, because you could be cannibalizing. But TripAdvisor makes it very difficult to just ignore it. You almost have to pay to play the game if you even want any exposure on TripAdvisor. It wasn't like that when I started, but now it's like you really have to have a strategy for TripAdvisor if you're using third parties or not.
Yeah. And we're more the direct. So Propellic is a direct booking firm. We don't support in our current state much of the third party distribution channel strategy. We can somewhat advise on it, but it certainly is not our core competency. I like to see at a very high level, without overstepping my knowledge, because I'm getting into that area where there's things that we're talking about that are less within my knowledge base, would be have a healthy split between direct and third parties and make sure that either of those channels are not over concentrated into a single direct channel or a single third party.
I wanted to touch back on your first topic, and when you started talking about it, it's always something that I've always been highly interested in. So when you talk about changing your message to let's call it a destination-based decision, decision in the decision-making process. So like anything short of like targeting the entire country, it's always been my contention that I know where most of our businesses are coming from.
Yeah.
When I look at my analytics, we're going to see the majority of bookings coming from the 24-hour to 72-hour acquisition window. So for all intent and purpose, it would make it seem as though everybody that is booking with us is coming from Florida, but they're not. They're just making the decision in Florida. And we know the key markets, the 6 or 7 key markets that people are coming from. So, and again, I know that like we could turn this into like a 3-hour long podcast if you allow me to, but
we will at some point.
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll probably get really deep into it, and I'll probably touch back on this because I think it's the most interesting topic of touching that top of funnel in those key markets that you're looking at without it being a looky-loo at $5 a click or something like this.
Yeah.
So when you talk about that strategy, can you kind of like expound on that a little bit more?
So Propellic specifically does this a little bit better than you could probably do it on your own, given our partnerships and deep roots in the travel industry. There are companies out there that are really good at strategic partnerships with companies like Marriott, with companies like American Airlines, with companies like TripAdvisor, with anything travel or travel adjacent. And they make these partnerships and agreements to track customer data on those websites. Propellic buys that data through strategic partnerships with data companies and targets specifically people who we know have purchased a flight to a specific destination or booked a hotel in a specific destination before they're there.
Oh, that's really good.
That's not a thing that's very publicly adopted. We've kind of gotten very creative in the way we've structured some partnerships and are continuing to work on some new ones with our... I don't like saying secret sauce because really we're very transparent, but the audience targeting, there's billions of people and millions of data points millions would be an incorrect, thousands of data points on the people based on travel behavior. We don't have single person data. It's anonymized. It's GDPR compliant, but we are able to build audiences that contain layered data of this person has this income. They're also visiting this destination for this many years. For this many days, let's target them 3 days before they travel. So that's a possibility. That's an option.
Huh. That's interesting. You're correct. I am not going to do that myself.
I mean, that's the one thing where it's like, yeah, it's probably better to work with us because I don't know there might be some other agencies in our space that do that. I know there's some software companies that do that. But I would say, and that's not the silver bullet that doesn't do everything, but it certainly makes everything more effective.
Yeah, sure. Because like, I think you're going to take a more, a less, a less knowledge operator, and they'd be like, we're just going to run TikTok ads for boat rentals in Georgia. Yeah. I don't even know if TikTok has targeting.
So yeah, we actually, that product's not available on TikTok yet. We can run that in Meta and somewhat on Google. So Facebook, Instagram, just because our data partners don't push to some of those platforms yet.
Anyway, I'm sorry. I want you to get on your third point, but I like that. That was just you said that it was like a burning thing in my head.
Yeah, no. Target the traveler. Target the traveler using traveler data, not using destination, not using source market data. That's that seems to be a primarily more effective way to do it. The other key 2 pillars or 3 pillars are really going to be, or 2 pillars are going to be just making sure you're feeding data back into ad platforms and managing your data and taking advantage of it. I know that someone like Greg is doing this well at TripShock, I'm sure. But when you look at a operator doing $1 million, $2 million, $5 million a year, I mean, maybe 1 in 10 have this set up properly, but you need to be tracking conversions well, regardless of whether you're using your own booking platform or a third party like Fair Harbor and offline and cross domain tracking. But feed your conversion data back into ad platforms because they're heavily AI driven and can optimize better with that conversion data. So just
Brennen, strong. I got a question for you. So one of the things I'm struggling with, and I think a lot of operators who track probably struggle with this and not know about it really, is that I believe that users that, let's say they click on an ad on Google, they click on an ad on Facebook, they click on an ad on Snapchat. Now, Snapchat is saying that I'm getting a 3x return ad spend. Facebook is saying I'm getting a 2.5x. Google is saying I'm getting a 2. I'm guessing that a lot of these users are clicking and seeing ads, and they're getting attributed on each of these platforms. But the conversion is essentially counted multiple times.
Yeah.
So I'm not getting a true return on ad spend because there's so much cross-platform usage from users, and I'm not getting that true. So is there a way to feed all of your data into one ad platform to get a true return on ad spend? Because
by channel, you mean?
By channel, yeah.
Yeah. So this is called media mix modeling, MMM. Are you familiar?
I'm not, no.
Okay, so MMM is a really sophisticated and newer way to statistically model where your conversions are coming from. And it's all fed into single platforms and analyzed. Now, the issue is I can't find a single MMM tool for less than $1,000 a month. So if you want to be able to calculate this, you want to do it with a more, like, if you really want those real numbers, be a large attraction, be spending, have that be less than 10% of your marketing spend, or at least your like marketing stack spend. I would say I wouldn't invest in an MMM tool or in MMM consulting with under a $20,000 a month marketing budget on average throughout the year.
No, well, we're above that, but
in which case I would suggest looking at an MMM tool.
Yeah.
I'm happy to talk offline about this more so. It's fairly sophisticated to set up. It typically requires a lot of development integration, but it will give you much more clarity from a statistical modeling standpoint into where things are converting based on the expected contribution of each channel. But it's a single platform, not each individual platform claiming last touch attribution.
Is it data-driven attribution or is it like last click?
No, it's definitely data-driven. But the MMM piece... The MMM, so it goes above and beyond that. So it's not just like what Google calls data-driven attribution. It's more sophisticated because it's pulling in from multiple platforms and not using a cookie, for instance. So it's
sorry, folks, this is nerd talk.
I
honestly, like if the same user clicks a Google ad, Facebook ad, Snapchat ad, they all should not be treated equally. Like that one conversion should be,
half our guys tuned out at $20,000 a month.
that one conversion should be split between all those channels.
Yeah,
instead of being counted each time, and it messes up all of my return ad spend marketing, and I feel like I'm getting good value, but I really am not.
Well, the great thing is MMM also includes print advertising, and you can track the impact of print and out of home and connected television. You can track everything, and then you get a by channel estimated impact on your marketing performance as a percentage of the conversion. It's not going to be conversion by conversion. It's going to be on the net, but it gives you so much more insight than just a single ad platform's reporting on conversions.
Well, we're kind of getting towards the end here, Brennen.
Got nerdy.
We nerd out a little bit, but there's some few listeners that like this kind of stuff. So,
I think it's a taste of what. I think it's just this is a preview of what's to come at the port, because you're probably going to have a lot of guys after listening to this episode who feel like guys like me who feel like I am sophisticated. I'm sophisticated when it comes to my marketing, and I'm like, oh man, you know what I mean? I'm like, all right, so how many backlinks are we? Let me wait. Before we get to that, let me ask you this about SEO, because you guys do SEO. And we've had a couple different conversations, X, Y, and Z, and my question to you is what do you think the future of SEO? It feels as though, and Greg and I had our internal conversations back and forth about this, about how Google is going to be rating SEO in the future. These guys that are still buying these backlink packages from Fiverr, or they have an SEO guy. Because again, old school, we're all older. What's your hot take on SEO in the next 12 to 36 months?
Okay, so we manage SEO for about 40 companies. We do about, I don't know, $300K a month in SEO sales here. So we have some solid SEO experience, and that's what I'm born and raised with. That's what I taught myself. That's what Propellic was created from. So more than anything else I've talked about, I feel most qualified to talk about this. Media mix modeling would be like a 10% thing. This is an 105% thing. So SEO, just to be quite honest, I don't even think Google knows what they're doing right now. I think they're in the crosshairs of the federal government right now, and the Federal Trade Commission. They're trying to deal with that. They had a huge algorithm leak come out, and there's this ongoing conversation about the shitification, quote unquote, of Google. I think Google's an absolute cluster right now. What I can tell you though is it still drives sales and conversions more than anything 100%. Else. It's incredible. So like with is Google going to, so Google's going to consistently move away from anything that can be directly influenced by any specific person. So anything you're doing that's trying to manipulate something, it's Google's goal to make that not an option.
Yeah.
At Propellic, we take a different approach than the best practices, quote unquote. We run statistical modeling on every single keyword we target and look for what the people in position 1, 2, and 3 are doing, that people in 87, 88, and 89 are not doing, across about 1,000 different factors that we know Google can look at. It's a fairly dynamic strategy that changes based on the algorithm updates. But what we've seen over the years is a continuous move away from the things that are manual. Going and buying 1,000 backlinks for $5, I can guarantee is going to do nothing positive for you.
Yeah, my take in this, I on our last episode, I made it clear, like, local SEO is alive, but outside of that, it's getting really difficult. You know, just creating blogs. AI has literally muddied up Google so much that, I mean, just tons of garbage content is just flooding Google. And we saw the biggest SEO decrease year over year than we ever have, ever.
And we don't, and this is why content can't be the only thing in your strategy. A strong technical strategy. I mean, we work with 10 different OTAs, Greg, like knowing your business. I mean, the technical side is so much more important than the content strategy. Page structure, templatized content. Yeah.
That's talk with you.
Get me into the top 3 map packs for 4 different markets, and
give me 12 minutes. give me 12 minutes. Give me 12 minutes and 1,000 backlinks. $5.
Yeah. Well,
man, I'm excited to have you, man.
Yeah.
So how can people reach out to you if they want to connect with you?
So in theory, by the time this is published, there will be a page at propellic.com/port. That's the thought. If that's not there by the time this is published, propellic.com, or reach out to me on LinkedIn. It's Brennen Bliss. It's spelled BRENNEN Bliss, BLISS. And I'll be.
And I know you're a young guy. You probably don't check your Facebook enough. I did send you a friend request about 10 minutes ago because I want to get you into our Facebook group if you're not already in there. So you can engage with people that pre-show or pre-event can ask you questions, and then post-event you can chime in on some of these discussions because they're being held actively by a lot of our audience members, and we definitely want you to be in that group. And if they have any specific questions for you, you can address them whenever you have time.
Wonderful, thank you, and we'll get Preston on my team involved in that too, just so he can be an additional.
No, we want you in that face.
I'm there. I just accepted it.
You're like, now let me just fire up my MySpace account and I'll check in with you guys on that one too. Awesome, man. Thank you so much for having us. Greg, you want to give one last plug for the conference?
Yep. The watersportpodcast.com. Get your tickets, get your room. And we don't have a limited seats, so I think we're 60 days away, something like that. So it's gonna come quick. So look forward to having you guys, and as always, keep it awkward.